My arm is physically the same as yours, but the communication between my brain and my wrist basically doesn't work.
Hey there, it's Dave Jackson back with another installment in our series, CaveSim Interviews Everyday Heroes. And today we're going to be meeting Jim Funk. Jim is a caver from San Antonio, Texas, who also happens to have cerebral palsy. In his case, that means that he doesn't have good use of one of his wrists and one of his ankles. And despite those challenges, Jim is able to go caving, he is able to rock climb, play basketball, do all kinds of incredible things. And he is going to share his perspectives with us, and let's go and meet Jim.
Well, I'm super grateful to you for talking with me. Can you tell me when and how did you get into caving?
In 2015, I retired, and immediately I found a program, a Master Naturalist program, where I'm getting it, which is what I love to do, get out into the woods and do different volunteer and activity functions. And so I started that in 2015, and it fit me perfectly. One of my Master Naturalist friends, Cheryl, we were doing a program together, and she said, "Hey, why don't you come with me? Robert Barron's doing an open house." And so we did an open house down here in San Antonio, where we went into a cave and did a cave crawl. From there, that's when I joined the grotto. I've been caving ever since.
I'm in the southern Colorado mountain grotto here, and some people come to our meetings a couple times and then they leave, they move on to other hobbies, and you have a lot of different things you do. So what is it that keeps you interested and excited about caving?
Well, I'm a pretend scientist, so I like and probably my favorite area of science is geology. So I enjoy going down there. I like looking at the rocks. I also love to climb, and my favorite type of climbing is bouldering. And so finding different caves that you can climb in and actually do some really cool bouldering. And then along with it, you're looking at, geology happening right in front of you and different geology than other people see. On top of the ground too, you're getting to go to some really cool places and see. I'm really big on the plants that grow in different ecosystems. So it gives me a chance to observe that. The camaraderie of the people, of the cavers, the community is just amazing. It's very welcoming, friendly environment, very cool people to hang around with. In fact, I told people several times, I'd hang out with you guys if there wasn't a cave.
That's great.
You can go anywhere and you can always find a cave that fits you. And you got caving clubs that you can connect with. There's always, you can do any level you want to do. You want to do 2 days or 3 days or a week. We did a week in Hawaii right before COVID in January, exploring a whole bunch of caves, on the Big Island, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
And so there's all kinds of different travel opportunities. I like to travel too. So it just fits a lot of different areas of fun.
So I'm glad that Bree introduced us. And one of the things that she mentioned is that you have cerebral palsy.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering, the purpose of this interview is to show people who are not in the caving community. We work with a lot of kids in schools, right? And to show them what does it mean to be in the caving community. And so I'm just wondering if you'd first be willing to talk about that aspect of yourself and whether that creates any challenges with caving or not. What that's like.
Sure. Basically, cerebral palsy, it's not a disease, it's a birth injury. My arm is physically the same as yours, but the communication between my brain and my wrist basically doesn't work. So I can use my arm, but I can't use my wrist. And if you can't use your wrist, you can't use your hand. So I can't do this. I can't really do anything. I can lift and do everything with my arm, but I can't grab a hold of anything with my hand. Same problem with my ankle on my right side. So I can't jump on one leg on my right side. I can use it. Basically my right leg is a stilt. I can't push off or anything, but I can hold my body weight. So it does create some issues, but it's also teaching me humility, which is another thing I need to work on. And it allows me to say it's okay to ask for help. And the cavers are helping me with that, because anytime I ask for help, there's 10 people right there ready to help. And that's That's really cool. But usually in caves, if I'm climbing good, it's there's sometimes I need some help.
If you could take us inside your psyche a little bit, right? Are there
Mhm.
things that are in your psyche, in your mental attitude that, other people might find inspiring that you rely on to have the tenacity to do what you're doing?
I don't know if it's tenacity. To me, it's having fun.
Mhm.
So I've always been that. I played basketball my whole life. You know, basketball is my love too. But I play just as well as anybody else, and I take that on with everything. I used to be a pool player too, so I just adverse. You know, anything that's a challenge is good for me and keeps me young. Challenges are great, and there's not, what better fun than winning a challenge? And so you have a challenge every day. So you win the challenge, and then you go to the next challenge.
That's awesome.
And if you're outside and working out, which cave digging is really fun too, because it's a workout. You're carrying 40-pound bags out of the cave, and you're working every ounce of your body, and hopefully you can bust into a cave and that nobody's ever seen in their life. But I guess it's just the competitiveness is part of it, and the humility. It's all combined, but it gives you all kinds of different flavors.
That's cool. That's cool. Where have you dug? What are some of the caves you've dug on?
Mainly robber baron. We're hoping to
Very
bust into something. There's a bunch of fill there, which is basically hardened mud.
cool.
So it's different than the limestone. So if we can get the hardened mud out of there and follow the limestone, the mud got deposited there probably from some sort of underground river.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes sense that if we're digging out the fill, there's something there.
Cool. That's cool. So when I dig here in Colorado, our caves are small, and I haven't been in robber baron, so I don't know what it's like. But we use sleds to put the dirt in like snow sleds, and we
Mhm.
haul out. What kinds of things have you done? Like, what techniques are you guys using for digging there in robber baron?
We have a little wagon
Cool. That's cool.
that we use, but the wagon, for me, it's just pick up a bag and haul it out.
Sure.
It's to me, it's the funnest, it's the best workout.
Yeah, we did a dig here, and it refilled one year, and so they went back at it again, and I participated again the next year, and they were thinking about, well, how are we going to keep the water, from filling this back in with mud? And I'm thinking, good luck. Water's
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one.
yeah. So are you guys putting the dirt in sandbags? And when you say bags, you're talking about sandbags and carrying the
Yeah,
sand?
yeah, basically, yeah, but it's not sand. It's
Sure.
but yeah,
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, we do that here too.
yeah.
Fill those burlap, sort of plastic burlap bags. I understand from Bree that you travel all over the world. Is there a place that you've been, I mean, anywhere, US or not US, that you would really stands out as a favorite place that you would say, hey, Dave, you should really go check this place out?
Lots of places. Slovenia comes to mind right away. Slovenia is an incredible cave place, but it's got mountains and just on the other side of the border from Slovenia is the Dolomites of Italy, and those are incredible, incredible. They shear off, that they erode vertical, so they just shear off, and so you have sheer cliffs to climb and get to the top of. It's every so often they basically put a little rebar into the cliff and call it a via ferrata, and to help you, and little chains here and there. But it's help. You need it a lot, but it's still a wicked climb. But the Dolomites are like no place else I've ever been, and they're not mountains I don't know anywhere in the world, but I haven't found any here.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been all over. I've been to 48 states.
Wow. Awesome.
I haven't been to Alaska or North Dakota.
Okay. Okay, cool. So when you climbed on that, what so-called via ferrata, right? When you
Yeah.
climbed on that, that was unaided, other than the iron or steel that they drove in. Is that right? You didn't have harness and rope.
No, no, just me.
Mhm.
It,
Cool.
it puts you in the moment for sure. Your entire thought process is your very next step, and nothing else in the world matters.
Cool.
And that's a really cool feeling. You're so focused.
Mhm.
It gives you a little focus level that not much else does.
Mhm. That's cool.
And just like caving, all you gotta do is take one step. Just take one step, and then you have to decide if you want to take step number two.
Mhm.
And if you turn around and go back, that's okay.
That's awesome. That's a great philosophy. That's really good. That, running this CaveSim is a business, right? And it
Right.
it supports my family. And so I have to do the same thing, every day.
Yeah.
Get
Yeah.
up, you take some, may not be a physical step, right? But take some step
Right.
and,
Yeah.
keep going.
And
So
keep going.
you mentioned at the beginning the Master Naturalist program that you're involved with. Do you want to talk a little bit about, you said that you're, I would maybe call you a citizen scientist. You said something
Yeah.
like you're a pretend scientist, but do you want to talk a little bit about being a naturalist and what excites you about it and what you do with that?
Sure. I do something every day. Usually I work about 4 hours. I'm retired. I was a state employee for 24 years working with Child Protective Services. In 2015, I retired and went into and became a naturalist. And now I play in the woods. Today, we cut up some really big trees so that they would fit into dumpsters so we could haul them away. So being out in the woods and having the crack of the tree as it explodes, as it falls to the ground, that's total energy, and that's a lot of fun. And then we're just grabbing it and hauling it. Again, I'm kind of a health nut, so doing a really good workout for a lot of reasons is really healthy. And just like when you're hauling sand in a cave, when you're dragging brush, 100 feet, it's a good workout.
I'm curious about that project. You're cutting trees. What's kind of the broader project?
They're called invasive species. They're Japanese ligustrum. And today, in one section, we turned a Japanese jungle into a Texas forest.
Awesome.
And we have places where you can look, and the left side is Japanese jungle where we haven't cut yet. The right side is Texas forest, and you can just see night and day. The sunlight's hitting the ground. There's space. There's all kinds of different trees, and the problem is that wildlife doesn't recognize the Japanese ligustrum as foods. And insects don't, birds don't, mammals don't. So you could have a Japanese jungle here with absolutely no insects and no wildlife. Mm-hmm. Whereas a Texas forest with hackberry can support 300 different species of insects and birds, one tree. And so you get those kind of stuffs in here, and then you're getting insects, and then you're getting the stuff that eats the insects.
A lot of times these things, somebody's got a brilliant idea that they're going to introduce something, or like kudzu was introduced for erosion control in the Southeast. Was this introduced for some reason at some point?
No, it looks pretty. So neighborhoods wanted to put them in their yard because they look pretty, and China berries too. Those are our two worst down here: China berries and ligustrum. And then the seeds get lost. They don't get eaten by birds, but they fall into the streams and stuff and get washed downstream, and then they plant and start a whole monoculture. And the forest that you're looking at has one tree, the Japanese ligustrum, where the Texas forest that we're seeing has 60 different types of trees. And so it's beautiful when you can see those things. Tomorrow, we're going to do a prairie fire, which is a prescribed fire. We're not sure yet, depending on the weather, if we're going to do it or we're going to prepare for it tomorrow. So, but the state park will give us like 48 hours notice to, when they want it done, and so we'll either prepare for it or we'll wait for another day, or we'll light the prairie on fire, and that's very fun too.
Just a quick interjection here to add to the great things that Jim is saying. Fire, when used properly and safely, can do a bunch of really good things for a prairie. First of all, it can reduce the growth of trees and shrubs that want to take over the prairie. Second, it can eliminate dead vegetation, and that's important because dead vegetation can choke out new growth and can harbor invasive species. It's also important because invasive species grow at certain times of the year while native plants grow at other times of the year. So if you can light a prairie fire to eliminate those invasive species, you can leave a lot of fertile ground for the native species to grow. Of course, any time we do anything with fire, we must do it in a controlled way, and we must follow the fire safety checklist, which is here on the screen.
And you guys use drip torches for that, or what do you guys use?
Yes. And we have water there. The biggest combat of fire is fire. Yes, we burn the fuel ahead of it, which we do. So, but that's a lot of fun, seeing the prairie burn on fire. Caving is always fun. You can do all kinds of things. We do a snake hunt twice a year in Cibolo, and on the Cibolo Creek, and we go into the water and we catch snakes, and we tag them and we measure them, and then we let them go, and then next year we see how they've grown.
Cool. That's
see
awesome.
how many we catch.
That's cool. So you're seeing a lot of different things, right? You're seeing snakes, and you're seeing invertebrates, you're seeing above, below ground. As a naturalist, when you look at and you think about all these different things you're seeing, are you firsthand seeing things that concern you? I mean, we know about climate change, right? Are there indications that you're seeing firsthand that you would want to share with people that might, help people to understand how seriously humans are impacting our environment?
Yeah, I've noticed since COVID, our carbon footprint is reduced tremendously. You can see a whole lot in the Adriatic Sea. You can see dolphins are coming way closer to shore. Different birds are flocking here. I just today we probably saw, just on the river walk, we saw probably 150 two different species of birds that not nest, but roost. And they're all flying in. They're just, and that all I think that has to do with a noticeable less carbon footprint.
Jim's observations are fascinating, and I wanted to expand on them a little bit by adding some perspective from the World Meteorological Organization, which has noted that this year carbon emissions have fallen dramatically due to lockdowns that have cut transportation and industry severely. But this has only marginally slowed the overall rise in concentrations of gases like CO2, because these concentrations are the cumulative result of past and present emissions. In other words, while COVID has shown us that changes in behavior can reduce our emissions, COVID itself is not a solution to climate change.
So switching to a little bit of a different topic, one of the things that I understand, you mentioned that you were in you worked for the state, and I understand from Bree that you maybe also were a foster parent. Do I have that right?
I was a caseworker, so I put the kids in the foster homes, and I chose the foster homes, the ones I like, where to put the kids, and where was the best place because I knew the kids and their behaviors, and I knew the foster parents I liked and what behaviors they could best deal with. And so that was my job.
Cool.
I've never fostered, but I did host foreign exchange students for 2 years.
Mm-hmm. So, things are challenging for kids with COVID, but I think things are always challenging for kids.
I had a lot of problem in school with being bullied, and bullies, you stay away from them. They're not worth their effort.
Do you still face what you would maybe think of as like an adult version of bullying?
No, not at all. I think that's a lot more of a kid thing. Kids can be mean, and you stay away from the mean kids. I think it's a maturity thing. I haven't had a lot of bullying as an adult.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Cool. That's excellent. That's really good to hear. And I'm just wondering, as you look at society, are there things that you think we are doing that we shouldn't be doing, or things that we are not doing that we should be doing to help kids?
We don't get kids out in nature near enough. We sit them in a little box and we say, read a book and regurgitate information, and we don't teach them to think. We don't teach them to learn. They're just regurgitating information, and that's not, you got to be hands-on. And I think, if we could have and there are programs around there's some nature schools all over, but I can I could take a group to Big Bend. I'm going to Big Bend in a couple of weeks, which is an incredible many different ecosystems in a short span of space in a volcano in West Texas. Just a week out there, you could teach your kids an entire school year of science, and not just science. The culture out there is so vastly different than anywhere else. You know, the stars out there are like no place else. The astronomy, you're not going to be able to teach that in the classroom. You have to get out there, and the wow factor is unbelievable. And the wildlife, when a kid you see, and they see a bear right there, or a bobcat, or didn't even hear it, but he heard it. He screamed at you before he left. You know, and that wow factor, that kid, you know, like in your video, you know, you can see the joy in the kid's eyes, you know, that kind of thing. You know, it's fun being present for those wow factors, and you can't give a wow factor in the classroom very often.
Yeah. Well,
You know?
I hope that when we come back, we'll get things will change, and we are not doing CaveSim programs at schools right now. We're just doing them online. But, I'm sure eventually we'll get back to bringing CaveSim to schools. And when we do, when we're in Texas, I'd love for you to come and hang out for a school program and
Oh, sure.
share your perspective live with the kids.
And maybe take a walk. I'm a forager, so I like to take the kids out, and we'll find something out in the woods to eat, and that's
Awesome.
that's a lot of fun.
That's really cool.
Especially when there's a couple that they taste tremendous in your mouth, and seeing the kids light up when they taste a starburst that bursts into their mouth, it's like, it's really cool.
That is really cool. That's awesome. Yeah, we have some things like that here. I have two young boys, and we whenever we go out hiking, I show them, oh, you can eat this, you can eat the kinnikinick berry, and we've got rose hips and other wild berries and things like that.
Yeah, we'll have to compare notes. I'll have to come up there.
Yeah, you absolutely will. You are welcome to. Yeah, definitely.
Oh, great.
Yeah, the kinnikinick berry, they like, my boys like eating it, even though it tastes like sawdust. And the Native Americans used to eat it, but I think the allure for my boys is that it does taste like sawdust, and yet they're allowed to eat it. So.
Okay, yeah, it's got fiber.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. So when I asked you about things we should be doing better, as a society, you did a great job of touching on what we should do with kids, right? Get them out. What about the broader picture?
To me, it's a big issue of money or the environment, and the people that like money are happy the way things are going, and the people that care about the environment, and which is what I do, and breathing clean air and drinking clean water and going out there and absorbing, being out in nature and having places to hike and see things the way it's supposed to be naturally, is something we're going to find out right now how big of a priority it is. Mm-hmm. I think, to me, everybody has their number one thing that politically that is more important than anything else. And for me, it's the environment. Most people, it seems like it's money, mm-hmm. or religion. But to me, nature is my religion.
What do you think we can do to get that across to people, the importance of environmental conservation? What do you think is a really, we take kids outside, so that's obviously a really effective thing to do. What's another really effective thing you think?
I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. I think people that want to open their eyes and see have seen, and the people that don't want to open their eyes, you can't make them. Kind of like you can lead a horse to water. Mm-hmm. I mean, the people that are, are already there, and the people that aren't, they're not going to get there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I like working with kids, because they're so much more receptive to new ideas.
Yes.
And, it's really...
And you can plant a seed. It's hard to, I hadn't thought about it like that, but yeah, it's easy. The ground is more fertile.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I like that. Yes. The ground is more fertile.
Yeah. Cool. So switching to a little bit of a different topic, you mentioned that you are really big into basketball, and you're a naturalist, and you're a caver, and you boulder.
I'm a 30-year season ticket holder of the San Antonio Spurs.
Awesome. Okay, that's awesome. What other hobbies do you have? What are some of the other things that you like to do that people might find pretty cool?
I used to shoot pool very well. I haven't done that in a while. That's taken a back seat, but I used to be a very good pool shooter. I love to climb. I love to travel. Like I said, I'm going out to Big Bend in Phoenix in a couple weeks. I used to be a pirate. That was a long time ago.
Tell me more about that. I want to know more about that.
I just graduated from college with I was a teacher of history and geography, and I couldn't get a job. So I said, well, I'm a history teacher, and here this pirate ship is. I was in Port Lavaca, and this pirate ship showed up, and I said, I'm not doing anything now. Might as well be a pirate. So I applied, and I got a job, and so we were a floating museum. So our job was to be from 8 to 5. We were pirates, and we slept on the ship. We gave tours to school kids, and then it was Sir Francis Drake's ship, and every 3 weeks we went to a different port, all the way up and down Texas, and everything was totally authentic, exactly authentic. We built it with no power tools, the way Sir Francis Drake built his ship. We sailed it exactly the same way. When we went into the harbor, we lined the cannons up. When we fired the cannons, we did everything extremely authentically. It was a very cool job.
That's cool. So you studied history. So what do you think these days, what do you think we should be learning from history?
There's nobody in the world that is 100% good, and there's nobody in the world that's 100% bad. And if you can't find good in the guy you don't like, or if you can't find bad in the guy you do like, then there's something wrong and you're illogical. There's always something good about everybody, and there's always something bad about everybody. And they're people. They got mistakes. They're not perfect. They're gonna, they're politicians, so they're in it for themselves. That's who politicians are by definition. So, I try to focus on what Democrat votes with Republicans and what Republican votes for Democrats, and reach across the aisle and try to make it work for the good of the country instead of just bickering back and forth. And if you can't find something good about your Republican coworker, then you need to find a different job.
So going back to bouldering, so I actually built a CaveSim system under the floor of a climbing gym that's here in Colorado Springs. And when you come to visit, I'll have to take you on a tour. So I'm pretty familiar. I'm not a great boulderer, right? I'm really not a great boulderer. I usually top rope, but tell me, I at least know enough about bouldering. I've done it before. And tell me about, from sort of a technical standpoint, how do you move differently than other people might move when you're bouldering?
I know my body, and I know I have to my entire focus is I have to get back to my left side. Mm-hmm. So all my right side is there to do is get me back to my left side. So if I need to step on something that's a little hairy, I'm stepping on it with my left foot. If I need to jump something and I need to jump in a specific spot, I'm pushing off with my left foot, and I can land with my right foot, but I'm only landing with my right foot I'm already thinking ahead. So it's not only where my right foot is going, where's my left foot going, so that I can, kind of hop and I can get to my left foot as fast as possible, because I don't trust my right foot. It's there to help me, but I don't trust it in a bind. And same thing with my arm. I can't use my hand, but I can use my elbow, and I can wedge myself and get to my left hand to get my leg. But I can wedge really good, and then I can find a way. But my entire thought process is get me back to my left side.
So do you like bouldering indoors in a gym, or you like outdoors, or both?
Outdoors. I don't do anything in a gym.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So, except play basketball.
Sure. That's great.
But yeah, outside of that, if I'm going to run I run, I exercise every day. So part of that exercise is running. So I run every day.
Cool. That's really
I used to run cross country in high school, and always been a runner.
About how far do you run these days?
Well, these days my goal is to have a resting heart rate of 60.
Mhm.
And when I ran long distance, I got shin splints.
Mhm.
And so I decided that if I run short distance and I run very fast, I can keep my heart rate at around 60. So I run about, I'd say 1 kilometer, about 2/3 of a mile,
Mhm.
but I run it pretty fast.
Cool. What's your time?
I don't have any idea.
That's cool. You just go. That's cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, I have no idea.
So what would you say, thinking back, you've done a lot of things. What would you say is an accomplishment that stands out to you as something you're most proud of?
I facilitated over 700 adoptions. So I'm very proud of that.
Awesome.
I raised a wonderful son, and that I'm going to go see in 3 weeks, and he's in the process of raising his little 1-year-old that's he's doing a great job with. That's by far my biggest accomplishment.
Awesome. That's cool. And what about looking forward in time? What aspirations do you have?
I'm going to wait for Barrett to turn old enough to climb Humphreys. Humphreys beat me, and I don't like mountains to beat me. So I'm going to have Barrett help me and get to the top of Humphreys, which is the tallest peak in Arizona. It's 12.8. I had altitude sickness and couldn't get to the top. And so I'm going to be a little smarter, and Barrett's going to help me, and we're going to be successfully get to the top.
Awesome. That's cool.
So
Yeah.
I will climb a mountain when I'm 100. That's my goal.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. So today, I work a lot on CaveSim, but today I took, my wife and I took our kids out hiking, and my son he's about 6, and he did 5 miles today. And we did quite a bit of, we're here in Colorado Springs, and we were at about 10,000 feet, and a little under that. And he did a good job working. So we're kind of doing the same thing, trying to, get him nice.
So which trail, which hike?
So there's a place called Catamount Reservoir, and
Okay.
it's up Highway 24. So if you're in Colorado Springs and you go up Highway 24, there's
Buena Vista, I think.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
Yeah.
That's right. And it's not too far. So, there's Woodland Park and Divide. Those are 2 towns, and it's between those 2 towns.
I'm thinking about heading over to Ouray and Silverton, maybe like in May or June.
Great. Awesome. Well, let me know when you come up, and we'll
Yeah, that's an area I haven't explored enough of,
Yeah.
of Colorado. There's a lot of 14ers up in there.
Yep, that's true. Yep, absolutely. It's a beautiful area too. You know this, right? I take CaveSim to all these schools, and I work with lots of kids. At the end of each program, or at the end of each group, I talk with the kids, and I leave them with a message to help them in their, as they go forward. Let's say you came and I said, hey, Jim, would you like to leave these students with a message, that might help them? What message would you have?
Don't think you can't do it. Just take one step at a time, and just go out there and, like I said, just take one step at a time. You can do it if you want to. And like the old saying goes, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And go for it.
That's cool. So let me know when you come to Colorado. You said May or June, so let me know.
I will, yes.
And then I'll let you know when we bring CaveSim down. And,
Oh, yes.
Well, thanks, Jim.
All right. You guys have a good one.
Thanks. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.